Hello everyone, I am Shalini Singh, Assistant Professor in Department of Commerce at GIMS Engineering Management Technical Campus, Greater Noida. In today's class, we are going to start with the second unit of Income Tax Law and Practices. As in the last class, we discussed about what is the concept of income tax, SSC, person, individuals, then diversion and application of income, mutuality principle, documents included for the taxation. In today's class, we'll discuss about the incomes that are exempted from tax. As in the last class, previous class of Unit 1, we discussed that the present law of income tax, it is contained in the Income Tax Act 1961 and the Income Tax Rules 1962 as amended up to date. It extends to the whole of India and it came into force in April 1962. So in today's class we are going to discuss what are the incomes that are exempted from the Income Tax Act under section 10. So Income Tax Act provided a complete exemption to certain incomes which do not form a part of the total income. These incomes have to be distinguished from those income which are included in the total income, but in respect of which the income tax law provides relief either by way of deduction in computing total income or by way of rebate of tax or by granting relief from the tax payable. So an individual taxpayer opting for the new tax regime would have to forego 70 tax exemptions and deductions. So these includes deductions under section 80C for a maximum of 1.5 lakh claimed by investing in specified financial products. So let's see how many incomes are there which are exempted with effect from 1st April 2020. Number one is interest received on post office savings account balance. Interest received on post office savings account balance is exempted under section 10 subsection 15 clause 1 of the income tax up to a certain limit. Interest received from the post office saving account was exempted from tax via notification dated 3rd June 2011 for up to 3500 in case of individual accounts and 7000 in case of joint accounts per financial year. The exemption on post office saving account can be availed before arriving at the final figure of gross taxable income. Second is gratuity received from your employer. If you receive a gratuity from your employer, then the amount received by you will be exempted from tax as per the specified limits. An employee is eligible to receive gratuity if he or she has worked for more than 5 years in an organization. So according to income tax law, gratuity is tax exempt up to rupees 20 lakh in the lifetime for non-government employees, and for the government employees all the gratuity received is tax exempted irrespective of the amount received by them. In the financial year of 2021, if an individual receives gratuity, then maximum tax exemption gratuity will be rupees 20 lakh in his or her lifetime for the non-government employees, and gratuity received due to death of an employee will remain tax exempted in the new tax structure as well as without any maximum limit. Next is amount received on the maturity of life insurance. Tax benefit on paying life insurance premiums to lower the tax liability under section 80C is not available in the new income tax slab structure. However, maturity proceeds received from a life insurance company continues to be exempted under section 10 subsection 10D in the new tax regime. Fourth is employer's contribution to your EPF and NPS amount. From financial year 2020 to 21, contributions made by the employer to the employee's EPF or NPS and or superannuation account will be exempted from tax provided the annual contribution to all the accounts with reference to employees does not exceed 7.5 lakh in a financial year. According to the current income tax law, an employer can contribute an amount equal to 12% of the employee's basic monthly salary to his or her EPF account. Similarly, an employer can contribute an amount equal to 10% of the employee's basic salary to the Tier 1 account of NPS in a superannuation account. An employer can contribute maximum of 1.5 lakh exempted from the tax in a financial year. Next is interest received up to 9.5% per annum from EPF. The interest received from EPF account continues to be exempted from income tax under section 10 in the new tax regime as well, provided it does not exceed 9.5%. Next one is interest and maturity amount received from PPF. Under the new tax regime, an individual cannot avail the tax benefit under section 80C on the contribution made to his or her PPF account. However, any interest accrued or maturity amount received from the PPF account continues to be tax exempted in the new tax structure. Next one, interest and payment received from Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana. Individuals investing in Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana for their girl child will continue to receive tax exempted interest in the account under new tax regime. Further, the payment proceeds received from the scheme accounts will remain exempted from the tax. However, investment under this scheme will not be available for tax break under section 80C under the new tax regime. Payment received from NPS account. The lump sum amount received at the time of maturity of one's NPS account will remain tax free in the new tax regime as well. According to the tax rule, maximum of 60% of the accumulated corpus can be withdrawn tax free from the Tier 1 NPS account on maturity. The remaining 40% of the accumulated corpus has to be mandatorily used for buying annuity plans on maturity of NPS account. Further, any partial withdrawal made from the Tier 1 NPS account continues to remain tax exempt in the new tax regime. So, according to current income tax law, an individual can withdraw maximum of 25% of his own contribution from the NPS account, which is exempted from the tax. Next is gift from the employer. Though various tax exemptions and deductions received from the employer have been removed under the new tax regime, no changes have been made in the taxation of gift received from an employer. Gift received from employer for up to Rs 5,000 remains exempted from tax under both new and existing regimes. Allowance received for performing official duties. Explanatory memorandum to the budget document states it is also proposed to amend Rule 3 of the rules subsequently so as to remove the exemption in respect of free food, beverages through vouchers provided to the employer, being the person exercising option under the proposed section of the employer. The CBDT via a notification dated 26 June 2020 has clarified that the food coupons received by an employee who has opted for the new tax regime will be taxable in his hand, and the notification has further clarified that any amount received as reimbursement for the cost of travel, daily expense on transfer, tour allowances for the travel for official purposes and conveyance allowance for meeting conveyance expenditure incurred in course of performing official duties will be tax exempted. However, one must not get confused with the conveyance allowance which was tax exempt up to Rs 1600 per month till financial year 2017-18 to meet the cost of travelling to and fro from home to the office. This allowance is still taxable in the new as well as in the old tax regime. Agricultural income earned by a taxpayer in India is exempt under section 10 subsection 1 of the Income Tax Act, and agricultural income which is defined under section 2 subsection 1A of the Income Tax Act, which was discussed in the last lecture. Next is allowance received for performing official duties. Then commutation of pension. Commutation of pension refers to receiving a part of pension as a lump sum payment in lieu of the future periodic payment. For the non-government employees, 1/3 of the commuted pension received is exempted from tax under the current income tax law. if the gratuity is received. However, if an employee has not received the gratuity, then half of the commuted pension received will be exempted from the tax. Even if the taxpayer opts for the new regime, the taxation of the commuted pension remains the same. Leave encashment on retirement. Leave encashment on retirement. At the time of retirement, many companies offer payment in lieu of leaves that are not taken. So, leave encashment received by a non-government employee is exempt from tax up to rupees 3 lakh. And if the employee has opted for the new tax regime, then leave encashment received at the time of retirement will continue to remain tax exempt in the new tax regime. And the last one, VRS amount. Monetary benefit received at the time of taking voluntary retirement is exempted from tax under the new regime. Monetary benefit received by an employee due to opting for voluntary retirement scheme from his employer will remain exempted from tax for maximum of up to rupees 5 lakh in both new and existing tax regimes. Thank you.